We've been waiting for this facade to be completed for 110 years. The building was purpose-built as a gallery in 1901, and the original architect, Charles Townsend Harrison, had always dreamed of having a frieze on the outside, a mural, which would in some way tell the story of what the building was about. In 2009, when we acquired the adjoining library, it suddenly became glaringly obvious that there was a missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle.
When I was asked to make a proposal, I wanted to try and explore my understanding of the architecture around the East End and what I'd seen and noticed over the years. And I also wanted to give a kind of gift to the street. There's always a lot of demolition going on, buildings going up, buildings being torn down. It's never a sort of peaceful place. And I wanted to just try and think about how you could make something that was a kind of moment, a pause, something that you could look at that gave a little spark. So that was really where it sort of started. And then I was also thinking about the tree of life that's on the facade of the Whitechapel, and how in places like the East End you see bits of buddleia and weeds and things growing out of buildings and popping up all over the place in these sort of funny little forgotten roof bits. But it's been a very, very long and laborious process.
I'm Mark Kennedy, and this is the Bronze Age Art Foundry. The waxes arrive pretty much in this condition. You see numbered. The next stage is that we transfer this number onto the back. We now need to prepare them for casting, which involves putting on a feeder system. It can be welded quite well with a hot tool. And then it's a question of just building up further. It's amazing how big a structure you can build just in wax. This will become a funnel into which the metal flows. As this one here is finished, we'll take it through and we'll show you the next stage. Here you can see the first coat being applied. It's a particular mix that's good for getting detail. So here we're putting on, it's a ceramic base, a bit like sort of a cream, if you like. It then has sand applied, which gives it a bit of body for the next coat to bind to, and then so on we build up.
Finish.
Here's one that's had a lot more coats applied. You can see how the thickness is building up. The next stage is to melt out the wax. We've melted the wax out of the moulds. We've just cooked them for several hours at about 700 or 800 degrees. They're now ready for the metal, which is being melted as we speak. This is a pouring bin, and it's also a kiln. Its first job is to cook out the moulds. The second job is as a container to hold them while we pour the metal in. The next job is to fill sand around each mould as an added precaution, just to give it support. This is a reasonably unique process. Yeah. This bin rotates. It also has a vibrational mechanism on it to bed the sand down. I don't think many other places have this same system running. This is a piece that's been cast and pretty much finished, ready for gold leafing. We've cleaned off all the feeder system, given it a final polish up. It's ready to go. We offer a 1,000-year guarantee with our work, so every job we do has a potential to be around for a very long time.
I did a lot of walking around. I actually went into the city quite a lot and trying to look at old and new and how they were sort of butted up together and what it was that made things sort of stand out. And I started thinking about gold leaf. I've done a lot of silver leafing in the studio. You know, it's a beautiful traditional process. In fact, my mother used to do a lot of gold leafing. So I, you know, as a child, I knew the process. So it's not like complete sort of magic seeing it there. Is it my bling sculpture? I don't think so. I'm hoping it's still very quiet, actually. But, you know, it does need to stand out. And I've used gold for only those reasons, not because I want to have some sort of status symbol for the sculpture or a status symbol for the Whitechapel.
This is 23 3/4 carat gold leaf. It's basically very, very thin, and if you rub it in your fingers, it basically disappears to nothing. It can make bronze look like it's made out of solid gold, essentially. Right now I'm applying this yellow enamel, which is acts as a sealant for the bronze, because the bronze is going outside. It helps protect the bronze. So I'm about to apply gold leaf onto this bronze sculpture. So I just systematically go along and apply the leaf section by section. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm dusting off all the loose leaf from the gilding stage. And as I go along, there'll be little areas where bits of gold haven't stuck, but I can then use all these scrap bits of gold and sort of tamper them back in. I'd probably gild, including faulting and finishing up, there's probably maybe 3 or 4 a day, 3 a day. But once I've finished this stage, I'll kind of leave it to hang up to dry or to cure for 24 hours, and then we'll have another look at it, and there might be little areas where we might need to go back and fault. As well as the bronze sections, we're also gilding the original terracotta sections outside the Whitechapel. So this is a mock-up section of one of those areas, and these will work in unison with the bronze sections, which will be fixed in various locations, such as this.
There's a fantastic amount of windows on the facade, and I thought, well, maybe if I sort of somehow try and integrate some more windows, but using my sort of signature style of sort of making something a kind of inside-out window. So that's what I've done. So there are these 4 terracotta windows on the main part of the facade, and then the surrounding areas are covered in these sort of gold leaves. But in order to make it work, it has to be exaggerated, because from the street, you know, it's much further away. You know, layers happen in cities, and London has this incredible amount of layers of history here. You know, it's one of the sort of oldest cities, and it's just extraordinary from, you know, Roman ruins up. It just is, you know, amazing. So I think it's not just about looking up, it's about, you know, taking care to understand the layering, actually. But yeah, if you look up, just remember, don't walk into a road. Don't walk backwards.
Right, what we have here is the plaster model. We originally visited site, took all the profile details from the existing windows, then produced a CAD drawing which has all of that information on it. Once the model's completed, we coat it with a resin called shellac. That seals the surface and means we can then make a plaster model from that.
We press the clay in behind and smear it to get all the air out of it. Basically, if we chuck slab in, it won't remove the air in it, so probably in the kiln or before the kiln, which would just crack and be no good. The webbing's a support because obviously it's flat and it's sagged down, so the webbing basically holds it in shape. That's the idea.
There's 4 walls and a base, and we press the clay into the mould. The walls are separate so that when the mould's been filled, we can take the band off and strip the mould apart.
Finishing the block up to get all the imperfections out the faces, making sure there's no major wind holes, air in the clay, Just getting all the imperfections out, really. This is a homemade knife. It's an old hacksaw blade, ground down. We use all sorts of stuff. To finish the actual edge, it's an old piece of leather from a leather coat. It's a nice sharp edge.
The manufacture method that we're using is exactly the same method that was used 120 years ago when the gallery was originally constructed. The product that you saw earlier on that had been pressed and dried has been loaded onto the kiln cars, wheeled in, and the kiln's then fired up to 1170 degrees centigrade. It's held at that temperature for a period of a few hours and then slowly cooled. The entire firing process takes about 4 days. From here the product will be dipped in water so that it takes up moisture, and then they'll be packed on pallets ready for delivery to site.
When you've actually done the job, you see the pictures of before and after. Yeah, it makes me proud to see what I've done.
It's really hard to work on something for so long and not be able to see it until everybody else does. So I was definitely feeling anxious about it. But I am delighted to say that I'm very happy with the work, which is what I wanted to be able to say, but I wasn't quite sure.
It's a bit like, for me, it's a bit like a gust of wind on the high street, and instead of blowing litter that these franchises are responsible for, it's actually blowing gold leaves up the side of the building.
I'm really surprised by it actually, because it's so light. It feels like a breath of air's come along and just, like a dandelion clock, puffed away 100 years of history, 110 years of history. So I think it's kind of a very original and a new direction actually, I think, for Rachel.
The building is a very well-loved art landmark, and I think she's pitched it so beautifully right that it isn't not trying to dominate, it's just trying in a way to get us to look at it again.
This is my office with the most wonderful view of the front of the Whitechapel, and as it was unveiled on Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday morning, the sun shone and glinted back on the gold leaf. It's just wonderful.
Was it gold plated, gold leaf?
Gold leaf.
Gold leaf. Nice.
Good to see. Yes, eye-catching. Good to see a bit of investment in the area now that the Olympics is coming.
I think it's amazing. I think every high street should have one.
Yeah, I'm living about 30 years in this area. Gallery is, it's good for us. It's very good for us.
I must say most of it, apart from the terracotta work, was done in the East End by East End craftspeople and artists. It's a sort of quiet gift to the East End, I hope.